Welcome to Malicious Compliance. I found some wonderful posts on Reddit I thought you would enjoy, from people getting what they deserve to good people getting what they deserve. So without further ado, let's go. I work in a major pizza delivery chain. Although we're not as successful about pizzaing the hut, our store's in a college town, and everyone in our town is extremely bored for obvious reasons. So we've gone from one prank call a day to at least 3 to 5, which isn't much, but it's still really annoying. The worst part is how uncreative they are, and low effort that most of them put into it. At least 80% is stuff like, "Can I have boneless pizza?" Or, "Is this a Krusty Krab?" And the occasional insert of the GTA fast food order. This has been happening for a long time, so I started to hang up on people whoever started saying stupid stuff. The boss wasn't too happy with me. One time I hung up on someone who wanted a boneless pizza, then the guy called back and actually wanted to order, so I got a stern talking to from the boss. In the company's group chat, he said, "I know we've been getting more prank calls, more than usual, but please don't follow in certain people's footsteps and just hang up on them. Take the calls as seriously as possible. If they order something we can make, calmly explain it to them and offer them something we can actually sell. We want to make money off of them, even if they're acting dumb." So the very next call is where the fun starts. I answer the phone, and it goes somewhat like this. "Thank you for calling. What can I get you?" "I'm so hungry. Can I get an extra large pizza with triple everything toppings?" "I'm sorry, but we can only go up to 1 extra and double each topping." Okay then. Can I get 20 extra large then of each meat y'all have? Like 20 pepperonis, 20 sausages, etc." These people are obviously high, and I can hear giggling in the background the whole time. "Sure, give me a second and I'll ring you up." "Okay, so that's 180 pizzas. The total will be $1,000. I don't remember the actual price, but it was pretty close. "It'll take us about 3 hours. "Awesome, thanks. We'll pay with check when we get there." So I placed the order. Not 30 seconds later, I hear from my boss, "What the actual?" And he runs to the computer. "How are they going to pay for this?" They said with a check. We do still take checks over $200, right? "They couldn't have been serious. Was this a prank call?" "I'm not sure, boss. You said for me to take all calls seriously." He just grumbles and picks up the phone and calls the customer. All I hear is super loud laughter as he hangs up. Meanwhile, the other employees actually started making the order, not knowing anything weird about it. So by the time the boss was finished and he canceled the orders on the computer, we had already made 5 extra large pepperoni pizzas. So we all got free dinner for everyone working that night, as well as another message from the manager saying, "In regards to my last message, please use your good judgment when taking orders." I used to work as a chef at a bakery. It was my job to make everything except for the baked goods. Every morning, the baker and I would walk in around 4 a.m. Then we would knock out all the food we needed for the day. That would leave me ready to go home around 10 a.m. This puts us at a perfect time to deliver online orders. It was common for companies and other entities to place large catering orders with us. The baker and I would split them down the middle, and we could deliver them on our way home. Well, the delivery in question was for Bob, Dick, and Harry, attorneys at law. I've never delivered to them before, but they were regular of sorts. Every financial quarter, they would hold a huge meeting. The meeting would require roughly $700 of bagels and bagel accessories. This spread included 8 dozen bagels, all 10 of our flavors of cream cheese, pastries, brownies, and enough coffee to power a college dorm through finals week. Well, my passenger seat, entire back seat, and entire trunk was filled with food. Now, the law firm is located on the 9th floor of a commercial skyscraper deep in an industrial complex, and downtown parking was non-existent. There was a meter outside the building, but I knew I needed close to 10 trips to deliver all the food. I didn't have a lot of change on me. The company policy was just to pay whatever fines they were and to turn in the receipts. The money would end up on my next paycheck. Come to find out, the building had its own parking garage, so I pulled in. The security guard, let's call him Sam, stops me and says the garage is for employees only. I happily show him the delivery invoice, and I offer him a bribery bagel. I never leave the store without one or two. Sam refuses the bagel and said that I could park on the guest spot on the bottom floor. The fee is $5 every 30 minutes, a minimum of $10. I thank him and head to the bottom floor, so there's a total of 6 guest parking spots. All 6 of them were taken. I head back up to talk to Sam when I see an open parking spot reserved for Bob, Dick, and Harry, attorneys at law. So that's where I park my car. Despite all the other spots being reserved for employees by name, this last spot was empty, and it was reserved for guests. Perfect. So I pull in. I grab the most important part of the delivery, the coffee, and I head up the stairwell. I get into the elevator, and I hit the button for floor 9. The elevator asked me for my employee ID card. Well, crud. So I tried the lobby. That works. From there, it's 9 flights of stairs, until I'm outside the law firm. After introducing myself, I'm shown to the room. I set everything down, and I head back for trip number 2. That's when I see Sam, talking to the receptionist. He runs over to me and starts shouting at me. "I'm putting a boot on your car. I told you to park in the guest bottom floor." I didn't get a word in before he launched into a speech about security and how I could be hurting his building's people. That is when the very well-dressed man walks over. It so happened to be Bob from the attorney's office. Bob asked what was the problem, and soon him and the security guard was arguing. "He's delivering food to my meeting. He's allowed to use my parking spots." "Those parking spots belong to the building. You are leasing them like the lease of the floor. I'm the one who says who can park there. He isn't an employee. He isn't parking." "Then I'm making him an employee." "You can't do that." "You know what? You're right. Harry, get over here." Harry walks over with an amused look on his face. "Harry, here's the head of the HR department. Harry, hire this boy." Harry pulls out a piece of paper and scribbles that I'm part of the law firm. And he signs it, and he asked me to sign it as well, so I do. Bob reaches over to the receptionist, who's already grabbing some things. "Here's your employee badge, and parking permit, and also your elevator key. So please do the job I hired you to do. Deliver my bagels." Sam looked on in utter fury as I rode the elevator down to my car. 7 sweet elevator rides later, all the food was delivered. Bob and Harry meet me at the table. "Hey, you've made great strides with the company, and I'm proud of your work, but I feel like it's time for us to part ways. Here's your final check." Then Bob hands me a $50 bill. Then Harry tells me, "And here's your severance package. Please be sure to return your badge and your card on the way out." Harry hands me another $20 and sends me on my way. The receptionist is sure to validate the parking ticket, and I head out. On the way out, Sam grins at me and asks me for my ticket. I place it in the machine in his station. It sees the validation that I got, and it lets me out for free. And Sam is glaring at me as I drive off into the late morning sun. My Gramps moved into a retirement park with the lot backed up into the county land. His backyard was basically non-existent, but he didn't mind because it looked out over the preserve. However, he did marvel at how his next-door neighbor, his backyard extended 8 foot past his, which gave his neighbor a nice backyard space. He tried to be friendly with the new neighbor, like exchanging phone numbers and the like. And one day he noticed that his neighbor was putting down expensive pavers that extended from his back door all the way to the old post that designated the preserved boundary. Gramps watched the neighbor as he yanked out the rickety old fence post, and he moved it an extra 2 feet into the preserve before pounding it back in. Then he started to clear the land, intending to gain himself an extra area for the pavers. Gramps used to work for the National Park Service as a young lad, so he decided it was better that he warned the neighbor of the consequences for his actions. So he headed out back for a little chat. The neighbor was immediately defensive, and before he could say anything, the neighbor says, "You're new here. I've been here for 10 years. Mind your own business." So Gramps decided not to push the issue. Nothing happened that year, but the following year, the county came to check the preserve. Gramps noticed them going back and forth behind the neighbor's house, and the workers pulled out the map and was taking photos. They were also making phone calls. Soon more guys showed up. It turns out the neighbor had moved the post several times over the years. In reality, his backyard's supposed to be even smaller than my Gramps. To make matters worse, the neighbor put pavers in the back, specifically to park both of his golf carts and a cherry red sports car. Since the guy didn't live there most of the time, the county decided that they had to move them. before they could do anything else. So they taped a notice on the door, and they left. Gramp goes over and reads it, and it states that the neighbor is in violation of encroaching on the land, and he has 30 days to move his car. Tear up the pavers. Failure to do so in 30 days would result in the golf cart and the car being towed and impounded. The pavers would be dug up, carted off at the neighbor's expense, then the fine will increase every additional day past the deadline. 30 days came and gone. So a week after that, Gramps had quite a show. As the first car and the golf carts were towed, the pavers were dug up and hauled off, the old fence posts and the ropes were replaced, also with metal posts embedded into a buried concrete base, connected with steel cables. The whole process took about a week to finish, but the preserve looked more legit when it was done. A few solar cameras was installed so that the county could monitor the wildlife and the encroachers. More notices was taped to the neighbor's door. By the time the snowbirds were flocking back to the park, including his neighbor, he was introduced to another show of the neighbor reading all the notices, digging down until he read the first one. Then he runs out back and starts screaming and cussing up a storm before running back to his car to dig out his cell phone. He calls the county to find out where his car and his golf cart were. Gramps stays indoors to avoid the guy. The guy is frantically unloading his car, trying to turn on the water and the electricity, getting the AC and toilet going, all the while trying to get someone at the county to pick up so that he could get some answers. He finally gets a live person and then proceeded to scream at them while he was on speakerphone. So the call keeps getting kicked to another person, because who wants to help a screamer? He's basically told to go to the county office to get it straightened out. 3 days later, the neighbor saw Gramps outside and asked him where he was when the county stole his car and destroyed his backyard. He said he was there. Then the neighbor asked why he didn't call him and tell him about the notices. So my Gramps said, "You told me to mind my own business, so I decided against it." This happened several years back. I was at my friend's house, we'll call him D. He was around 16 years old. He had a younger brother, 14, and a sister, who was 12. His mom was terrible. The younger brother and sister didn't have to lift a finger to help out, while he had to clean the house daily, cook the dinner most nights, babysit the two of them, and they also got to order him around like a slave. The mother wanted things cleaned up in a set way. She wanted the floor cleaned, then the side, then the floors again. If I was around, I would help him out, so we could enjoy our time together. This day while we were cleaning, we missed the first floor cleaning, as it was pointless. Little did we know his mother was coming home early, and was going to take the brother and sister out. She got home, and half of the kitchen was already done. She sees that we haven't cleaned the floors yet, and she goes into a screaming fit.
"You know that you are to clean the floors, then the side, then finish the floors. That's double the work for the floors. I don't care. You'll do as I say, and as I tell you to do it, and nothing else, you stupid brat."
I knew he had it at this point, so I step in and I say, "Ma'am, we'll do it your way. Your house, your rules after all." My friend gives me the evil eye, just for a moment before his mom walks out.
"Your brothers and sisters are coming out with me for the rest of the day. Okay, put the chicken over at 4 p.m. and roast the vegetables at 5:30. Remember to do it as I tell you, and only as I tell you, and to finish cleaning." "Yes, Mom."
They leave, and we finish cleaning our way. I told D that there was no point in fighting his mom, because he couldn't win. 3:30 comes along. He turns the cooker on, and sets the temperature needed to cook the chicken. He allows it to heat up to cook the food in time for dinner. I turn the cooker off, and he looks at me. "Your mom said to do what she said, and she said at 4 p.m. Your mom just said to put it in the oven." Once again, I turned it off and reminded him to do just what she said. She just said to put it in the oven. He did roast the vegetables though. He isn't happy because he knows what's going to happen. And I tell him that I will stay until they get home. So I use his phone to call home. And I phone home to tell my mom what happened. She knows D and his mother. Well, D is like family to us. My mom and dad buy him birthday and Christmas gifts. And if we're going out, we try to take him too. We can't always due to his mother though. My mom agrees that I can be late and says if he wants to, he can spend the night. His mother, brother, and sister get home.
"Why can't I smell dinner?"
It's in the oven. She goes to look.
"D, you moron! You forgot to turn on the oven, and it isn't even cooked." "Mom, I told you what to do, and you didn't do it."
Misty, ma'am, he did as you told him. He put the chicken in at 4 and the vegetables at 5:30, but you never told him to turn the oven on and cook it.
I shouldn't have to tell him to put the oven on.
You said that he had to do exactly what you told him to and nothing else.
You get out of my house now.
Dee walks me to the door, and I tell him that I'm gonna wait out on the pavement if he has to spend the night. I'm standing on the road, and I can hear his mother telling him that he can't be friends with me anymore, and the fight goes supernova. His mom tells him that if he's friends with me, then he's gonna be homeless. So he calls her bluff, and she says to get out of her house. So he comes out crying his eyes out, wondering what he was gonna do. Well, I knew he was fine for tonight, and hopefully she would cool off by tomorrow. We go to my house, and he's still in tears. My mom hears him out. My mom did tell me what I did was wrong, and what if I didn't have a backup plan, but she said she would have done the same thing. Dad hears him, and he gets furious. He does something I'll never forget. He stands up and walks out of the room. He comes back a minute later, passes a house key to Dee, and he says, "This is your home now. We'll go get your stuff tomorrow. You've been here so many times, you already know everything, and you already know your room. I'll redecorate it next weekend for your taste." The next day, my dad, me, and Dee go back to his mom's house so that he can get his stuff. He knocks on the door. She opens up and says,
"Why are you knocking on the door? You kicked me out." "Yes, but I was just mad. I need you to babysit your sister and brother tonight."
"Nope, not gonna happen. He's moved in with us."
"You can't do that. I'm his mother. That is kidnapping."
"He's over 16, he can leave home."
"Yeah, I'm moving in with them."
"We are here to get his stuff."
"Well, I'm not letting you in."
"Fine, I'll call the police."
"Fine, get his stuff."
We move him in. We find a few odd quirks, like my mom would ask if anyone wants coffee, and he would jump up to make it. Then he would stand by her side, wait for her to finish, to see if she wants more, or if he had to remake the coffee. Well, we did break him of a few of those habits. We eventually went off to university together. We both lived at home and had part-time jobs. We paid rent to my parents, but little did I know, they were just saving that money to give us for a deposit for our own place after we finished university. He now has a wife and kids, and they call me Uncle, and my mom and dad Granny and Granddad. My folks even helped him pay for his wedding. Thank you very much for joining me for this edition of Malicious Compliance. Man, I really loved that last story. It was really nice. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Remember to like, share, and comment, and also follow us on Instagram and Facebook. The links are in the description. I want to give a special thanks to my patrons. Your help is much appreciated. If you want to be a patron, you can go to the link in the description, or you can check out some of my merch. Thank you again, and until next time, this is Dallas, signing off.